but you claim to be a hyper skeptic with the Quran, yet you still believe the Quran.
Well, if you look at certain things, it just makes more sense on a logical basis. Okay. So, you could disagree, but it's the truth. If you're looking at it practically speaking.
You're just saying that. I don't think you're being consistent with your hyper skepticism. You're not putting the Quran on the same nitpicking standard that you were putting the Bible with. And so you're saying, yeah, we're good. I'm good with the Quran. I believe it. But with the Bible, but where did this come from?
What's up, brother?
What's up? You a Muslim?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. How long you been Muslim?
My whole life, surprisingly. I know
your whole life.
Yeah, I'm one of the weird ones.
Well, I never judge a book by its cover, you know.
Yeah, that's what they all say until I come, in the nighttime. I'm walking towards you, then judgments come.
That's funny.
Well, excuse me, I just worked out, so I'm sweating a little bit.
That's all good.
I just caught the back end of this conversation. I didn't really know what it's about, but I just seen the Muslims, Muhammad hijab, and I did see it. And
tell me what you thought. What you think, man?
Man, if I'm being honest, if I'm keeping it real, it was. I think you composed yourself a lot better than he did. I think you had better composure, and I know that's kind of his personality. That's kind of his thing, to kind of get under your skin and go, like they say, ad hominem. In terms of content, I think on both sides there was nothing spectacular on both sides, and that was partly because it was more of a dispute rather than a conversation or a debate.
Okay, so I was asking the past guests. I brought up an argument, chapter 10 verse 94. I was establishing that from the Quran standpoint, the Quran points to the previous scriptures as the standard of truth over the Quran, right? Do you remember that portion at all? If you don't, it's okay. I can break it down.
That was half of the show. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so do you believe that he responded to my argument or gave a good response?
I feel like he didn't directly respond, but he did have some type of response at the end of it, but it just wasn't, and you could probably agree, I don't think it was sufficient for people watching to be like, whoa, he did it.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I don't think what he said touched it. Matter of fact, he evaded it at all costs. So the point that I was bringing up, obviously, was that because the Quran tells Muhammad that if he's in doubt about what Allah is revealing to him, i.e. the Quran, then he should go and ask those who have been reading the scripture before him. Right. And so my argument is that Allah points to the previous scriptures as a way for Muhammad to gain certainty of what the Quran is saying if he's doubting what Allah is saying. And so that demonstrates that it's the previous scriptures. Since that's how he can get certainty of truth, then that would make the previous scriptures the standard of truth over the Quran, not the Quran itself.
But then my automatic thought is, why would there be a Quran if you go to the past books as your point of reference?
And brother, you are a thinker. This is why I'm not a Muslim, because the previous scriptures are sufficient. There's no need of the Quran. There's no need of some so-called final revelation.
So why are you not Jewish?
Well, because I believe in the Messiah.
Yeah, but if the first book, which is the Old Testament, the Old Bible, the original, if that's the OG, then you got to go by the OG, no?
You're absolutely right, which is what Jesus said. Jesus said, if you don't believe me, at least believe the works that I do and believe the scriptures, because the scriptures testify of me. They bear witness. He said, if you would have believed me, if you would believe Moses, then you would have believed me, because Moses wrote about me. So Jesus gives us a way to verify him, which is the previous scripture, the Torah. That's why Christians hold to the Torah, because Jesus held to the Torah.
But then they don't abide by Torah because, Christ died for everybody's sins, so that part of works is unnecessary.
Yeah, so what you're talking about right now is covenantal shifts. So where the old covenant within the Torah and the Old Testament has an established like way of living and laws, but the new covenant comes through the Messiah where we're under his law now, which the Old Testament talks about. In Jeremiah and Ezekiel, God talks about a new covenant that he's going to bring through the Messiah that's unlike the old. And so the Messiah brings that new covenant and boom, here we are. Right. So it all flows. The New Testament, new covenant is a fulfillment of the old. It's a completion.
I did not come to abolish. I came to fulfill.
Yes, exactly.
I'm somewhat familiar, but there's still just some things that just don't make sense, like in that sense. And I'm not like I've researched enough to just look at it, and I kind of look at things like super practically, and I just don't really see a strong argument on either side. Like he said in the end, which was one of the only good points, even though I think the framing was incorrect, and that was the logic of certain things. And I know you'd like to call yourself GodLogic, but
I call myself the unlettered Christian, man. That's what
it felt illogical, and it is illogical when you try to, like you said, someone who's born is also necessary. Something along those lines. I'm trying to remember. You can correct me.
We'll get to that in a little bit later, because I want to hear all the things that you thought about the debate, and we could talk about it. I would love to. Right. So I want to flush out this first part first, okay? Mm-hmm. So with the Quran pointing to the previous scriptures as the way that you can be certain about what the Quran is saying, would you agree that logically follows that the previous scriptures are the standard of truth over the Quran?
Nah, because I mean, it's not. I don't think it's even debatable that the Bible, both of them, have been corrupted.
Then that would just mean that the Quran is also false. Then for telling Muhammad,
no.
Let me land this.
Go ahead. Okay? Sorry,
I'm saying that if the scriptures were corrupted, then the Quran would be false for sending Muhammad to corrupted books in order to clear up any doubts he might have about the Quran. You get what I'm saying? How does that make sense? For if they're corrupted, Allah's saying, hey, if you're doubting what I'm saying, go to corrupted books to clear up your doubts? That would make no sense.
True, but then again, you can go back to, the New Testament and the Old Testament. And if the New Testament is the standard and the Old Testament is outdated, then the same exact logic can be going next for the progression to the next book if you're following that same stream of logic.
No, brother, because we're not. The difference between you and us is you're saying that the Quran is a continuation of the previous scriptures, while the previous scriptures have been corrupted and adulterated. Us as Christians, we don't believe that the Torah is corrupted. We just believe that based on the Torah and what the Torah foretold, that we are living in the new covenant that the Torah, the old covenant, told us about. Okay. So there's certain legislations that's not binding on us now because we are under a new law, a new covenant, which is what the Old Testament pointed to. So we're not saying the previous scripture is corrupted, therefore it's the New Testament. No, the New Testament is a fulfillment of they go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? But so you're saying that the previous scriptures are corrupted while the Quran is supposed to be fulfilling them. That's the difference between us.
Okay, I get what you're saying. But okay, can we agree? I heard a little bit of the last thing you said, that we're creatures of sin. We all sin.
Yeah.
So, and then our actions sometimes contradict, what we want to do.
That's right.
So you have good Christians, good Muslims, good Jews, who they're not abiding by the rules that they say they lead by. So like Muslims don't practice the Quran the way they say. Christians go. So is it fair to say that maybe the book at the time was not corrupted, but the application of the book was corrupted?
Yes. Absolutely. That's what the Quran says. The Quran says that they distort the book with their tongues, or they forgot a portion of their own covenant, right? That they throw the books behind them, meaning they ignore them. They're not following them correctly. And the Quran says this in chapter 5, verse 68. It says this. It says, "Say, O people of the book, Jews and Christians, you have nothing to stand on unless you observe the Torah and the gospel and all that's been revealed to you from your Lord." So the Quran keeps telling them, hey, follow your scriptures, stand on your scriptures, observe your scriptures, stop deviating from them, stop falsely applying them. The Quran, what you just said is exactly what the Quran teaches, bro.
Yeah, I know that, but things can't live simultaneously in the same place. So we have, if you look at the progression, supposed progression, you see Judaism, and then they have, it's of works, a religion of works. Then you have Christianity, which takes away the application of the works or anything. Then you have Islam, that's more like Judaism if you're looking at it on just face value.
Sure, but with the Quran, it doesn't act like when one comes that the first or the older one disappears. So, for example, in chapter 5, verse 43 of the Quran, it says this. It says, this is Allah speaking to Muhammad. It says, "Why do they come to you for judgment when they have the Torah in which Allah's judgment is in?" And yet even still they turn away. So they're still hypocrites even though they have Allah's judgment in the Torah. So even in Muhammad's time, even while the Quran is there for them and is being recited and revealed, Allah still tells the Jews to judge by the Torah. And if you go a few verses later, in verse 47, it says, "Let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in there." And whoever doesn't judge by what Allah has revealed is a wrongdoer. So even in Muhammad's time, even in the time of the Quran, in the time of Islam, the Torah and the gospel are still authoritative for their particular communities.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't see an issue with that because I mean, not all Muslims believe like the Christian way of viewing things, where if you don't accept Christ, you're going to hell. So I would believe that Christians have a path to God. So do Jews, and so do just righteous people who never received the word to begin with. And I think that that's true, Muslim philosophy. So I don't see nothing wrong with understanding that there's differences, but we're still going to the same place.
So here's the problem though. Okay. So because it's not just that we have just some minor differences within our faiths and our religions, we have core differences, meaning each group makes a truth claim. Right? We're claiming to be in line with reality. And so anything outside of that would be obviously a falsehood, right? So, for example, in the gospel, it teaches that Jesus is the Son of God. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life," right?
Yeah.
In the Quran, it teaches the opposite. Chapter 9, verse 30, it says, "The Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. The Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. That is their saying from their own mouths. They imitate the saying of disbelievers before them. May Allah's curse be upon them, for they are deluded from the truth." So you have the Gospels claiming one truth, that Jesus is the Son of God. And you have the Quran who's claiming the opposite, but it's claiming that this is the truth, that Jesus is not the Son of God. They both cannot be true. They both cannot coexist. It's either one or the other.
Well, I disagree, man, because look at it this way. Okay. It kind of feels like the only analogy I can think of in my head is dieting. Like, you can tell me that you can be on a low calorie diet and you will lose weight. And then somebody else could say, go on the keto diet or the carnivore diet and I'll lose weight also. Except the calories are irrelevant and the carbs and everything's different. It doesn't matter. But still, I will lose weight at the end of the day. So I will ultimately get to the same place. That's what I'm saying. That's a little bit of contradiction.
Yeah. So what you just said isn't a contradiction, because those are two different diets, right? With the claim in the,
I didn't mean contradiction, just conflict.
Okay. So with the claim in the gospel versus the claim in the Quran, These are two diametrically opposed claims on the same subject in the same sense. One is saying Jesus is the Son of God. That's the way to salvation. The other one is saying Jesus is not the Son of God. And if you say so, Allah's curses on you. You know what I'm saying? Those are two literal, like, opposite things. They collide. They can't coexist. One cannot be true while the other's true as well. You can't say that Jesus is the Son of God and that's how you get eternal life and be cursed by Allah. You know?
So would you, I mean, I'm not going to say condemn, but with lack of better words, condemn Christians who believe that Jesus is not God or not the Son of God.
Yeah, because they're not.
Would you say that they're not Christians?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though they believe in the ways of Christ?
They don't. If they believed in the ways of Christ, they would believe who he is, which is the divine Son of God who came into the world. That's you can't claim to be of Christ. That's like me saying that I'm a Muslim. I believe in Muhammad, but I reject him as a prophet. You know what I'm saying? That's like that. Can I be a Muslim and reject Muhammad as a prophet?
No.
Right. So you can't be a Christian and reject Jesus as the divine Son of God. You can't do that.
But who created that criteria? Maybe you can inform
Jesus. He said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." So if you are coming out saying, "Hey, I'm Christian, but Jesus ain't the divine Son of God," you're not Christian. You're going against what Jesus just said.
I don't know, man, because that whole idea of Jesus being God in itself, or even Son of God, I think that's very conflicted. And even I'm not the most informed person, but if you look at the old text, like during, you could say, the times after post Christ, the first couple centuries, they were trying to figure out exactly what Christ was. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it was 380. That's when they had the Council of Constantinople.
Brother, no. The Christians always agree that Jesus is God. Just because you have heretics that say otherwise, non-Christian heretics that say otherwise, that doesn't mean that within Christianity there's confusion.
Yeah, but why do you condemn them to being heretics automatically just because they have a difference in opinion?
I'll say it again. If you go against what Jesus taught or what the apostles taught, then you are a heretic. You are not a Christian. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just like if a Muslim or somebody who claims to be a Muslim is going against what the Quran teaches, right? And I'm talking about the core things. They're going against who Muhammad is, who Allah is. They're not a Muslim. It's simple, right?
What if they're not going against it, but they're just not abiding by it?
That's the same thing, brother.
Oh yeah, well, because I mean the whole concept of works isn't in the picture. So I get what you're saying. So
to be this clear, based on the verse, just to make sure that we solidify this, on the verse of the Quran that we're showing, right? You were able to say, like, okay, yeah, well, like, so what if this is meaning that, you know, the Quran, that the previous scriptures aren't corrupted, but the way that people applied the scriptures is corrupt, like the people are corrupt. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. Now, this is what gives us the other horn of the problem, right? The other horn of the problem is that, yes, they're not corrupt. The scriptures are good to go. The issue is that the Quran contradicts these scriptures. That's the problem. And so because the Quran contradicts these scriptures, Jesus wasn't crucified. Jesus ain't the Son of God. Allah's not a father.
But again, that goes back to the Old Testament. How do you believe in the Old Testament in its entirety when they don't even believe in the Messiah?
Brother, the Old Testament is not the Jews, or is not rabbinic Judaism. Rabbinic Judaism, in their view, is irrelevant to what the Old Testament says. We go on the text, not people's opinion. So if I have Jews who claim to be followers of the Torah, they're not really followers of the Torah if they're denying the Messiah. The most Jewish thing you can do is believe in the Messiah.
So what's the description of the Messiah according to the Old Testament?
He'll be born
does it align?
He'll be born of a virgin. He'll be born in Bethlehem.
Yeah. That's what it says verbatim.
Yep. He'll come from the tribe of Judah, of the seed of Jesse, a descendant of King David himself.
You're gonna have to enlighten me with that, because I never heard of that.
Yeah, I can show you these things, bro.
Yeah,
I can show you these things. Okay. But my point is that the Quran, in contradicting these scriptures, after affirming them, it affirms that these scriptures are true, but then contradicts them, means that the Quran is false for contradicting true scripture.
I don't know, because it doesn't defeat the argument of, Christians and Jews still have a route to the one true God.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's an inconsistency within the Quran itself. The Quran affirms scriptures that it also contradicts. That's the problem. But it can't contradict these scriptures and still be true, because these scriptures are true. So the Quran has to be in perfect alignment with these scriptures, or else it's false.
I think that's exact. Again, I'm just looking at it, like face value, because like we're really talking about 1400 years ago, where, like I said, I think it's pretty, concluded at this point that the Bible is corrupt.
No, it's not. But if you're saying that, no, it's not. But let me go with you again.
Okay.
If it's corrupt, then the Quran is still false for saying corrupted books are true, for telling Muhammad to go to corrupted books to clear up his doubts. You see how that doesn't solve the problem for the Quran?
Nah, it doesn't make sense, because at the time it could have been fine. So what is the relevance in nowadays?
All right, let's go with that. So at the time of Muhammad, the scriptures were good. Maybe after that, that's when they got tampered with and corrupted, right? All right, so here's the special thing about that, Kareem, is that we have the manuscripts and the scrolls that existed prior to Muhammad's time. So that would mean that the scriptures we have today are good, because that's what the Quran was talking about.
How many years after Christ?
Depends on what are you asking about? The
manuscripts.
Gospel?
Yeah.
So the gospel was written between like 40 to 60 years after Jesus. The manuscripts that we have are like about 90 to 100, 200 years later. So we have manuscript copies after Jesus, but prior to Muhammad.
Yeah, but again, the corruption could have taken place immediately after.
Okay, so now it's not that the corruption was after Muhammad, it's that the corruption was before Muhammad, right? Is that where we're going with now?
The corruption was before Muhammad. No, after.
Okay.
Because as it says, go to the people of the book. And if the argument is that at the time it was not corrupted, then you can't deviate from that.
Exactly. So this means that from the time that the apostles wrote the gospel, all the way up until Muhammad's time, which is 600 years. There's a 600-year gap. All the manuscripts and the things that was in the possession of the Christians in that time, in that time period, is good to go. It's preserved. We have those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take one of those manuscripts, you said 60 AD or whatever, and you compare them to the St. James Bible or whatever, it's going to be identical. And then also, what language would that be?
Brother, just 1 second, because I want you to take this slowly, okay? Before you start like trying to compare English translations and stuff. We're not talking about translations.
No, I'm not even going to play that argument. I just wanted to, like, that was just a curiosity question. I would assume Greek, but I don't know. Yeah, it's Greek. Absolutely, it's Greek. There was also Syriac and Coptic and all other kind of languages that the gospel was also written in. So what we have here is that's the first 600 years of the gospel is preserved. It's good, right? Up until Muhammad's time, it's good. We have those. We have 2nd century, 3rd century, 4th, 5th, and 6th century manuscripts. Okay, we have those. So we have the manuscripts that existed prior to Muhammad, which would mean that the scriptures that I have are not corrupted from the Quran standpoint. We're good to go. So it's exactly identical to what you're hearing right now.
Yes, it's what we have. We have those manuscripts. And so, obviously you'll have, if you go into textual criticism, you'll have, like you have scribes make mistakes, might copy an extra word or line, a verse might be missing in one manuscript that you'll have in another manuscript. It's good. We don't.
But again, and I don't want to be too picky with this, but even if you said it was 40 years after, a lot can happen in 40 years.
But you already agreed that those scriptures are good because all of that is before Muhammad's time. So the scriptures before Muhammad's time is good. It doesn't matter how long after Jesus are.
Oh, okay. Now I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna just have to look at my research or do my research and see what's up.
Yeah, that's an honest answer. So now here's the thing, because this is huge. This is what we call the Islamic dilemma. Okay, because of what the Quran is saying, we're going off what the Quran is saying, bro. And the Quran is, appealing to our scriptures, pointing to our scriptures. Always speaks well of them. But then the Quran contradicts our scriptures. This would mean that the Quran is false for contradicting scriptures it confirms.
Yeah, I mean, I could keep going on this, but it's just going to be nitpicky because I could easily say, like, let's say, for example, geographical location. People aren't as communicative. We can't even have this type of conversation. Back then, for example, there could have been other books that were well preserved in the region of that area, or maybe even the practice was well preserved, and then everywhere else was doing different things. So if you take Christianity in Ethiopia, in Egypt, in freaking Czechoslovakia, wherever the country's name is now, they're going to be different. No. So that geographically speaking, there's going to be different interpretations, different actions based on the same thing. And then they might have different, ways of looking at that same thing that we may not have access to today. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a good example of that. Something that came out of nowhere.
We have access to the Dead Sea Scrolls. We have access to the Ethiopian Bible and the Ethiopian manuscripts that existed before Muhammad. We have those.
Okay.
So I'm saying what I'm saying to you, brother, is that we have access to what the Quran was appealing to. We have it.
I just don't quite believe that. But,
why?
Because it just doesn't make sense to me, especially the way history works, especially 1,400 years, a lot, or even longer than that, because you're looking at 2,000 years from now. The odds of every single thing in every single way, especially when it was in the hands of a couple Europeans at that point, and I don't even want to get the racial thing going on.
The Europeans had nothing to do with this.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to say that you got all of it? That's just illogical.
It's not illogical.
Especially
hold on, stop, because we're getting to the point where you're being hyper skeptical.
Yeah, and that's why I say I don't want to be nitpicky, and I want.
So to be hyper skeptical, then you can't come to any truth. You're going to have, you can't have a position if you're going to be a hyper skeptic, but you got to be able to follow the evidence where it leads. And so what I'm saying is that you don't have any reasonable doubt in regards to what I have. You have no good reason to doubt the scriptures that I have. That's my point.
I'll give one last thing, and maybe this will give some, I guess, thought. What was Arab history before the times of the Prophet?
I don't know.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a gray area of just mystery, and that's not even skepticism. That's realism.
People have that information. I'm just not read up on that.
Nah, I'm pretty sure before the 16th century or 6th century, there was not much Arab history. Obviously, there was
a bunch of it.
But
that's why they know about their pagan gods and how they used to use Allah already at the time. Like they used to say that before Muhammad came, they used to say that Allah had 3 daughters.
Yeah, but Allah just means God.
Yeah, and so they believe that God. They believe that God was within a pantheon of other gods and goddesses.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, is it a detailed history of those specific things? No,
Yes, people have that information. That's what I'm saying. Like, what does this have to do with the scriptures that I have, the manuscript evidence that I have? What does that have to do with you doubting what I have?
Where does it come from? That's the first question I'll ask.
What the manuscripts?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this manuscript.
It comes from the churches. It comes from the apostles. It comes from
no. I'm geographically
all over the place. Egypt.
But that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm saying geographically speaking, some people have more preserved history. And how am I supposed to believe Fulano from?
So why are you a Muslim?
What? Because
why are you a Muslim?
Because I believe in the Quran and I believe in just the actions practically.
But why aren't you so hyper skeptical about the Quran? Like you are a lady that opposes the Quran.
You're joking. Why do you think I'm listening to you? Because there's always a sense of skepticism. And I want to make sure that what I'm knowing, and it says in the Quran, as you know, because you're read up, it says question the book.
But you're not hyper skeptical.
Absolutely, I am. Because I would have a debate with other Muslims just about this.
But this is what I'm saying. You don't believe in what I have because of your hyper skepticism, but you claim to be a hyper skeptic with the Quran, yet you still believe the Quran.
Well, if you look at certain things, it just makes more sense on a logical basis. Okay. So, you could disagree, but it's the truth. If you're looking at it practically speaking.
You're just saying that. I don't think you're being consistent with your hyper skepticism. You're not putting the Quran on the same nitpicking standard that you were putting the Bible with. And so you're saying, yeah, we're good. I'm good with the Quran. I believe it. But with the Bible, but where did this come from? But where did this manuscript come? Okay, but we have so many different
I think you're butchering what I'm saying, because I'm having a conversation with a dude who's called the unlettered Christian. That's why I'm being skeptical about that. If I'm talking to the unleathered Muslim, you're going to see the same skepticism, even though we believe in the same thing, because that's just the nature of the game. When you debate something, it doesn't necessarily mean you disagree. It just means you're trying to find ways to improve your situation. It's negotiating.
I got you, brother. All right. Well, this was a good conversation. I'm gonna let somebody else up, but please think about what we talked about, man, with the Islamic dilemma, with the Quran affirming the scriptures and then contradicting them, seeing that problem. Okay.
All right. I got you, brother.
All right. Peace. I'm live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can come back again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate this. I never done nothing like this before, so it was cool.
For sure. Take care, man.
Thank you for watching. If you've watched this far, I encourage you, don't just react emotionally. Think, examine, test the claims. Truth is not determined by volume, tradition, or majority. It's determined by what is true. If you disagree, that's fine. Bring evidence, bring sources, bring logic. But slogans, insults, and repetition are not arguments. The goal here isn't to win debates or humiliate anyone. The goal is clarity, consistency, and truth. If you found value in this, like the video, share it, and follow the page, because these conversations matter. And remember, faith that fears questions is not faith worth defending. See you in the next video.